Hello there. Welcome to the channel. My name's Joe, K1LBG, my call sign. That's the channel, part of the channel name to differentiate me from Joe Heck the Senator, which pops up an awful lot. Anyway, today is a little different. I'm going to be trying to get a camera running, and I'll explain it as I show you the parts. So these are the guts to a P5624 PTZ camera, pan tilt zoom, outdoor. Well, almost all the guts, and it's from Axis. I have the other parts over here. Not much to show. The dome, the mounting bracket, the outer shell, the power supply. What I am doing with it, I have a tower, my ham radio tower. It's 100 feet tall, and I did have a nice PTZ on the top of that, and it got full of water and finally failed. And a decent PTZ is about $1,000. Well, I found some of these Axis discontinued PTZ cameras for a very good price from a guy in Arizona. Unfortunately, he is just a reseller. He wasn't able to test them. He thought they were functional because they came out of a school. Well, it is functional, or was functional, in that it had the video, but there was no pan, tilt, or zoom functions. And the error message on the screen was that the power wasn't sufficient. So I went and bought a 802.3 AT rated power supply, put it in, third party. Same message, and then I finally contacted Axis, and they told me what is approved for this power supply. I bought one of those used, same message. So I really don't think it's the power going into it. I think it's the way the power is extracted from the power over Ethernet. So I'm in the middle right now. Here's the board that has the Cat5 connector, which sticks on the top of this camera. And once again, I have to put on my eyeglasses because I can't tell if my eyes are fuzzy or the camera is fuzzy. So there is one chip. Come on, focus. That's the first interface chip, Ethernet 230L, which goes to the RJ45, and it sort of extracts the power part of the PoE. And then the back side is, I guess I got it upside down. Another Coilcraft PoE 300F-12L. That is supposed to take on the left-hand side the raw power coming in over the Ethernet cable and convert it to 12 volts on the two lower pins on the left, and a 12L means 12 volts also on the right-hand side, which has 3 coils, and I believe they're all paralleled. So next step is to plug this in with the power switch, which is around here someplace. That has to be on, I believe. That's this connector. That's sitting here someplace. I'll find it. And then test the voltage on those two caps and on this cap. I mean, those are obviously filter caps. If you're into electronics, you would know. Couldn't find any typical documentation on how this is put together, but I have a general idea, so we're going to see if in fact we get the voltages we need out of this. I mean, there can only be 2 voltages coming out of this chip. It's possible that the power going into the chip is bad, and that's something I have to check. Because I don't know where it gets that error message from. I'm assuming there's a microprocessor on here. This is probably this. Nothing on the back, or this one here. So one of them is saying, hey, there's not enough power. So let's see what we can come up with when we go to the workbench. Okay, here we go. Well, that'll be a short trip. I gotta find my meter. Alright, I've now got my meter. I should use a scope. I have a bench top meter, but I'm just so used to using this one. So I'm going to plug this in. And I guess the first thing, this has an on-off switch, but I don't know if it's before or after the power supplies. So I'm going to go look at these 2 pins here. Well, that's 50 volts. Ha ha. Okay. I guess we got power to that. And the other 2 are over here. $12.3. That should be 0, yeah. That should be 0. So the 2 are in parallel. The 2 capacitors over here are in parallel at 12.3 volts. And the input, that must be the input, 50 volts, because that's basically what's coming down the line. Only it's AC coming down the line. This is DC. So I have 50 volts to that cap, which seems to be pretty good. So now what happens if I have to probably tape that shut. I don't have enough hands. And if this works, then I have to hook it up to the camera so it actually has a load on it. Well, let's see what happens here now. Well, that goes down to 12.4. No, that's the wrong cap. All right, those are still 12 volts. And it's this cap. 49.8. Those seem reasonable. I don't understand why it says it's low power. We got the 12 volts on the where we should have 12 volts, and 50 seems to be about right because that's what this guy puts out, AC. But here, I don't know. We might see some magic smoke here pretty soon. 72 volts. Well, that's not right. .200 volts. Well, something wrong there. Can't be 1,000 volts. Well, the flybacks are pretty high, but it's supposed to be for 12 volts. That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It is a transformer, should be AC. But I'm not getting what I expect. I expect those to be 0, yeah, because they're all parallel. Volts, ohms. I got nothing now. Did I blow a fuse in my meter? Oh, this is like at 250 kilohertz. So, yeah, the meter's not going to look at that. Alright, so the question becomes, why is this failing? I guess it's time to hook it back up. See what my voltages are. Somebody thinks it's not good. So let's see what happens. Let's unplug him. Turn off the meter for a minute and go get the rest of this. I'll be back. Well, I've got it hooked up. Let's bring this over here. And you can see, I'll get a little closer here. You can see I have the, there's the heart of it all cabled in. And we're going to see if the thing decides to start up and rotate here. I hear a fan. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. So somebody's not seeing the power. And I don't know who. Someplace we should have some lights on this. I got an amber and red light. Flashing amber and red. So I guess I'm going to have to look up that. I didn't notice it before. I used to have a green. So something is is messed up here. Sensor and motor, those are okay. And the other one is okay. The switch is in there. Plugged in, and as expected it doesn't do anything because I don't have a button pressed. Now I have a button pressed. All right, a new situation. I used to be able to get green out of this thing, but it's failed. So I'm going to have to go look up the error message. So here's an Axis P5625 that said it wasn't getting enough power, even when I had the right PoE sys set up on it. So what I did is I figured out that probably the supply pulling the power off the Ethernet connector, the RJ45, was bad, and I decided to figure out how to bypass it. And what I ended up doing was finding the spots where the 48 volts normally comes in here and wiring it directly to a 48 volt supply. So I run a separate power wire, I guess, now. So the positive one, as you can see, is going to a spot on the side with the Ethernet connector, which was a blank pad right next to a capacitor, because I think the stuff on the left is where the 48 volt components were supposed to be. And what I did is I just bypassed all that. And when you flip the board over, it's more obvious because that's the 50, or that's the 100 volt capacitor. And I went on another pad. So those are the pads, the positive and negative pads. This happens to be the negative pad on the top. Yeah. And it seems to work. I'm going to start putting it back together a little bit and verify it. I also might put some hot glue on this just to keep it from moving or something. I haven't decided yet. All right, well, it went through its startup motion. It's got a blinky, it's got a green light, so I should be able to find it on the internet. We'll see if everything works. But you can see that I've mounted this board now. Missing a screw. I thought I had them all, but there must be one missing. And I hot glued this in. There is a space for another connector right here. There's a 10-pin connector that goes there. And that has a port on the IP66 case. So I'm probably going to figure out how to get a connector up through there. I'm waiting for the connector to come in now. So we'll see what happens. So I had hung this up here in my workshop on a piece of line, hooked up an Ethernet connector and a power connector to these two wires, where I've wired that into the board, which I've shown you. And I successfully got this to work over the internet. So now I'm putting it together, and I have to figure out where to run these wires. It's got to go someplace in here. And I've got to put this connector in. And the big thing is it's got to be waterproof. So I've got to do some little design and engineering. So my camera quit, so I'm gonna maybe overlap here. So as I said, I get this all working. I've got to get this guy into this area watertight, because these wires have to go to it, and then this goes over it. And I have to see how this is watertight. I don't remember seeing a gasket on the Ethernet connector, but golly gee whiz, yeah, there's got to be something. So I'm going to see how that goes, and decide if I'm going to just put a pigtail out and let it hang, or try to squeeze that pigtail into the case, which I don't think I will, but we'll see. All right, let's go from there. Okay, well, I've got this mostly together, and I have a nice gallon bucket to hold it in my proper order. Fits on there really good. Next challenge. Well, I have my 2 wires coming in, and I have my Ethernet connector, and I have the blank plate for this side, which I can drill and goop up the wires or do something to it. That's not a big issue. And it looks like more and more that this is not going to fit in here easily, so it's going to lay on the side or something. I haven't decided yet. They may just come all the way out from underneath and go into this waterproof thing. So we'll see what happens. But more importantly, it looks like there should be a gasketed cover for this. And I think when these were removed, they simply unscrewed the cover, disconnected the clip, and left everything up in the air. They didn't bother making this complete. So I guess I'm going to have to see if I can get this adapter cable. So I'm going to have to look that up. I can always, there's enough holes here to make a plate to fit both of them, but I don't know if I want to do that. You know, water tends to get in wherever it can, so I have to decide how watertight do I make this. How am I going to do this? So that's where we are with this. Where have we gotten with this? Well, a couple of things. I ordered a IP65, 67, 68 kit, which I assume does 66 as well, for this Ethernet cable. And I took the plate that was here, that's a blank. Doesn't show up for, oh, there we go. And I drilled 2 holes in it, just big enough to put those wires through, and there's a rubber gasket already on it. So that should protect it a fair amount. What I think I'm going to end up doing is building this up with epoxy, just to get a little height. I don't know yet. And this apparently did not come with the gasket that went on here. And the reason I'm thinking there's a gasket is because you can see that this is kind of yellowed and this is nice and clean. And I don't think that's just from being covered, because there's a space under here, and you would have seen the notches where the sunlight would have gotten through a little bit. So I'm going to make a gasket to fit on this, and that should be good enough. So I'm waiting for this connector, and I'm going to solder onto these wires now, because now that I see what I've got with this on top, I'm going to have plenty of room. So that's my next step, is to put a connector on these, a watertight connector, which probably isn't needed now, but it's going to get one. Where did we leave off? Well, I don't know. I've got too many things going on. As you can see, I've got the guts of the PTZ camera inside a 1-gallon can because it fits in there just perfectly to hold it, if you can see, without the dome. And all my work has been in here. And what I've been working on, two items, of course. This camera is supposed to have power over Ethernet. So everything should have been going through here. And the problem is that the circuit inside is bad. So what I did is I found a spot I put 48 volts DC into this directly and brought it out the auxiliary connector, which on a 5624 up there, which is not used. This was a blank plate. Excuse me. So what I did is I drilled 2 small holes through it, and there's a rubber gasket underneath, and I pulled these 2 wires through it and put a watertight connector on it. So there's my power. And the other problem is there should have been in here something that approximates that. This is 3 screws that hold down this piece, and it sticks up a little, as you can see. And the reason it sticks up is to make it watertight. There's a gasket underneath, and then this plugs down over it. And the Ethernet cable goes through the center. So I have spent a huge amount of time making one of those because they're not available. And I'm in the final stages. I've got to get rid of a little bit of scrap right there for some reason. Don't know what that was. And I'll show you. And it turns out that this is a standard thread, so I can build my own pendant to go on my tower. So that's where I am with this. I'm going to pause for a second and I'll show you the piece that I machined up. So I had a small piece of aluminum block, actually quite a good size one. It was much bigger than this, and I went and machined all this out. I had to cut this so that it fits into the bottom there because it's not big enough. And unfortunately on this corner I've lost a screw, but I've got a way around that if I can find the piece. Hopefully I can find it again. And because this was a piece of scrap, it actually had a hole drilled through it. And on one side I was able to use some Alumaweld and fill that in, and the other side it popped out. So I ended up using some 2-part epoxy, and I filled it in, put 3 small holes through so I could squeeze the epoxy in to give it a place to grab. And I still had a small divot there, and I just put some of the, what is it, polyisocyanurate on there, even though that's supposed to be for 2 pieces together. I thought I'd let it dry and I would try to file that, which I might try right now. And of course I made a gasket. Yeah, that's the way it goes. And there are 2 little holes through it, which I'm hoping the screws go through. So we're going to see how that works. So let's well, with the rubber gasket, I don't see that being an issue at all. It's going to seal, so that's good. So let's go back in the other room. in my electronics area. I'll show you that this tab has to go on this side, and it just pushes right on there just perfectly. Now I believe that there's supposed to be a couple notches in here for this to clip into. I don't care. For what I'm doing, that'll be more than good enough. And just something else. If you notice, the screws on this cover that I modified are Allen's, shiny. Those are 2.6 metric, M2.6s, which I don't think is what those threads are exactly, because here are the 3 screws that came out of it. But I'm not going to try to measure them. They fit good enough, and I needed these 3 for the 3 holes that I have yet to put something in. So that's where I am. I'm going to struggle with that right now, and I'll bring you back when I mount that. Well, there it is with 2 screws. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of gasket inside. In here, there's a piece of rubber, and out here where the last screw goes is a little, so you can see that little bit of rubber inside. So I'll take a scalpel X-Acto knife and get that out of there. Well, that was successful. I was able to cut out that rubber. I just tried an RJ45 in there. Works fine. So we're getting there. I've got to go find the piece that I made for that 3rd screw. But you can see that that fits on there really good. So the goal is to make that as waterproof as possible. All right, let me see if I can find screw number 3. All right, there it is, completely assembled. You can see a little strap here that I've got. Goes around the corner. That holds this corner down. So now it's just put all the pieces together, which is just straightforward. Well, here it is, all put together. I'm going to leave it in here just because I've got the neck on it. I don't know if I can lift that up. Yeah, there, you can see the neck. I have this marked tower because there's a big scar in the dome. And since it's going to be mounted pretty much up against the tower, when it's faced the tower, you can't see anything anyway, so there you have it. A lot of work, an awful lot of work, and it's done. So you're not going to see it mounted for another few months because we're getting ready to have 2 feet of snow here today. I'm not climbing. Thanks for watching. Hope you stuck it out. Like, dislike, share, comment, subscribe. The YouTube mantra, for what it's worth. Feedback is always good, whether you like it or dislike it. So thanks for watching, and hope to catch you on the next one.